right, folks, welcome in. If you're part of the community, this is made for you. If you're not part of the community, you might be able to have some takeaways here as well. I know I come on here and joke and funny and try to make you laugh, but here's the behind the curtain scene. This is the real deal, Holyfield. This is how we make the money. So, for those that don't know, what I do for sports and sports betting is different than a lot of other professional sports bettors or people like how I grade and how I go over each and every game for each sport. While I'm not going to tell you the exact recipe like a chef, right? I'm going to tell you the ingredients in it, but I'm not going to tell you exactly how. So I'm going to peel back the curtain. I'm not going to give you all the secrets, though, but let's get into it. Again, if you're in the community, this video is made specifically for you to help you understand how the grades work and how everything goes. But from the beginning, all sports are the same in the fact that I never look at the lines prior to doing the grades. Usually I sit down first thing in the morning, sometimes even the night before, depending on what's going on. And for instance, for like college football, I'm doing them on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday for Saturday. So I'm doing them many days in advance. So let's start off, I guess, with college football. My favorite sport, just as a fan, right? Take all betting aside, college football is my favorite. So that I take the most serious. It's the sport that I get the most worked up about. It's the sport that I take the most pride in. It's not my most profitable sport, I will say that. So with college football, we do a 9-point grading scale on 9 different data points on college football, and then we do over-unders. Over-unders is not a super scientific thing. We basically take like opponents, win at home, win on the road. We take the totals of those games, and we basically come up with the mean and averages in those spots and then add each team's mean and averages together and get a number. Surprisingly, I'm fucking pretty spot on doing it that way. I don't even know if it makes sense or if I'm a blind squirrel finding a nut, but that's the way I do it, and I end up doing pretty good. So basically, we take like opponents, home and away, right? Some teams perform offensively better home and away. Weather obviously is going to play a factor as well. Rule of thumb, it's not an end-all be-all. If it is raining in a football game, NFL or college, the under is usually the play. If it is snowing, college or football, or college or professional football, the over is usually the play. Again, rule of thumb, it's not a die-hard rule, but that's the way you should be leaning on. Also, divisional games, and then for college football, conference games tend to go under as well. Familiarity with opponents. Again, rule of thumb, not an end-all, be-all. All right, so over-under, not super complex. It's just adding up a bunch of different data points from previous games and then coming up with a mean. Again, not necessarily the average, but the mean. If you don't know the difference, go look it up. All right. Now to figuring out money line and spreads for college football. And I am going to share my screen here. Hopefully this works out. I don't take credit for calculating all the advanced odds. I do take credit for taking all the data, inputting it into my grading scale to then get the outputs, if that makes sense. So the first thing, and if you're in the community, you've seen me mention this quite often, which is FEI. Okay, FEI is the opponent adjusted possession efficiency data representing the scoring average per non-garbage possessions a team would expect to have on a neutral field against an average opponent. If you look, our top off opponent adjusted efficiency is going to be Indiana. Ohio State is 2. That's pretty close. Oregon, all right, and so on. You can see the rest, right? So, stop sharing screen for a second. The first thing I do, or the first data point we look at, is where does the team fare in FEI rankings? Straight up. Where do they fare, right? So if a team is 20th on that list versus a team that's 50th on that list, the advantage is going to go to the team that's 20th. Makes sense? Great. Another website I use for college football, and this is where we get a lot of our data from as well, See if I can pull it up here for you. Pick Florida State. They're playing tonight. So we'll pick Florida State. So when we come on here, there's a lot of, these ads out of here. There's a lot of data to go. Player metrics, everything. What I do is I will use scoring opportunities, field position, rushing. And when we get to rushing, we're talking power, success, stuff rate, lines per secondary, open field. All that is important. Green is good. Red is bad. To give you, again, these numbers probably mean nothing to you, but they all have numeric value when I input them. I don't care about this so much, but predicted points added, definitely care about that. Rushing, passing, both success rate and also explosiveness. That is what I use to gain, I would say, 90% of the data I use to calculate college football spreads and money lines. Okay. Then what we do is I input or intake all that information, all those data points. And every year I do reassess and I reevaluate. And sometimes in college football, I haven't in the last 3 years. Hockey, I made a slight tweak to last year, which I think made a big difference and helped us. So what we do is we take all those data points, we put them into my grading system, scale, whatever you want to call it. And that pops out a numeric number. That number, for whichever team it leans towards, is going to be essentially a positive number. It could be 0 push. It could be all the way up to 9. College basketball. So college basketball, I almost exclusively use one website. And let me pull it up here for you. It is teamrankings.com. And they provide data for a lot of different sports, but college basketball is basically the only one I use them for. Come down here, the predictive rankings, power rankings, have Purdue as the 4th team. They have Texas Tech as the 22nd. So we'd give the edge or the nod there just on the power rankings to Purdue. Now, we come down to efficiency rankings or stats. And efficiency rankings, okay? And we're going to look at offensive efficiency, which goes to Purdue, effective field goal percentage, which goes to Purdue, turnovers per play, offensive rebounds, and points per game. Okay. All those have a specific weight or grade to them. On a defensive, we go defensive. Hopefully the recording on all this turns out great, because this software's been giving me a fucking nightmare. I want to throw the computer across the room. Anyways, the last thing we're going to go over is hockey. I'm not going to touch with baseball right now, but hockey will be the last grading system I'll go over with you folks right now. So NHL hockey, and I'm not going to show you a screen. I think that's partly what's caused issues with the recording, but let me go over with you kind of what I do for hockey. So first and foremost, we do a power ranking on a 3, 7, and 14 game metric, meaning it's heavily weighted to the last 3 games, then the last 7, the last 14. So things you did 12 games ago does not matter as much as what you did 2 games ago. That is factored in. The other thing I do in hockey that's different than any other sport, because hockey I think is different than any other sport in this regard, is I factor in rest time. So in hockey, you can have teams play back-to-back nights, and you can have other teams play 4 or 5 nights ago. So you can have a team coming in on 3 or 4 days rest playing a team that played last night, especially some of these West Coast teams that are playing the wee hours of the morning and then have to play a fresh team the next day. That is factored in. A lot of the numbers I pull, you can't even find this shit, but the numbers you could find are Fenwick percentage. If you don't know what that is, go Google it. Save percentage is another statistic you can pull. But the other things I pull is like 5-on-4, 4-on-5. What is the non-blocked? I mean, I almost just show you some of the stuff. The non-blocked offensive opportunities per period. I get down to even to the 10th of a goal that should be scored in certain situations. That's my time. Hopefully you learned something. And for those in the community, hopefully this helps you better understand the grading scale, how I go about things, and maybe when you're going through and looking through the grades and maybe you're betting something that I'm not on, this is a better way for you to interpret. If you ever have a question about a grade or a game that maybe I haven't graded, I grade almost all the games, but sometimes college basketball, there's just too many games. Ask me. It takes me, college basketball, maybe 5 to 10 minutes to grade a college basketball game. Those aren't too long. The football games take me a while. The hockey games take me a decent amount of time. But the college basketball games, 5 to 10 minutes, I can grade a college basketball game. So if you have a question about a college basketball game, please do not be a stranger. Until next time, jump on the right foot, get in when you fit in, and just remember, close your eyes. A mouth is a mouth. Peace.